Roland Parrish is a 1971 graduate of Hammond High School. He was an outstanding middle distance runner and starred at Hammond High and Purdue, where he earned a bachelor's degree and master's degree in management. He capped off a brilliant high school career by winning the state 880-yard run in 1971. He also earned All-American recognition at Purdue University. He set his school record in a 1,000-meter run, was all Big Ten in 73 and 75, and was a team MVP. Roland was also inducted into the Hammond Hall of Fame in 1973, and Roland currently owns 23 McDonald's restaurants in northern Texas with an annual sale of $60 million. Unbelievable. It is my honor to introduce my teammate and my friend, Roland Parrish.
Okay, thank you, Larry, and thank everyone for the kind words. I'm just going to try to make this corner so I can make sure I talk to the youth also. As you guys know, I'm the son of a minister, and I'm not going to take a text today, and I'm not going to be long today either. I heard a lot of sermons coming up, but first, I want to begin by saying my name is Roland Parrish, and I'm a proud product of Hammond High School. We'd like to thank the members of the Hammond Education Foundation and the alumni and friends of Hammond Schools. We'd like to thank Hammond High School, Dr. Goodlow. We had a great time today talking and then I would say fellowshipping with the seniors and some juniors and some sophomores. So we thank you very much, and for whatever group, I guess, honored me with this distinction, we thank you so much. Also, the class of 1971, I think there are some members here. Our class president, Richard Kitchell, please stand. And I'm gonna miss a couple names. Beverly Sturgis, just stand. My class, stand up. The Wilberts, Dennis and Gregory, Connie, Lobato, and okay, Larry Dempsey. Okay. So now we get into some of the fun part. So members of my church, I'm gonna say, Reverend Collins, the members of my church, can you stand and give them a hand? My church came out to support me. And as Ms. Weems said, and I still go by her earlier name, you know, that's my home church, but any church in East Hammond, or Hammond, you could have stood up in front of my church. Anyone who was ever my teammate, George, Wilbur, come on, Keith, my cousin Jim. Wait, stand up for a minute. Who else? Did I have more? Larry, we ran some relays. For him? Right. Right, Reverend Weems, yeah, he was a competitor. He stands up with West Lukosius. I thought I had more teammates than that. So, of course, the McClendons, Dwayne was my teammate, but Gerard and Theodore are like brothers to me. And Larry did stand up. Larry was a great track standout also. And then I have some family members here. So, family members? Okay. And then I was going to say, last but not least, is my wife of, I think on Saturday, it'll be 39 years. 39 years. So, hey guys, I just want to mention a couple of points. In the Hammond School Board, Mr. Watkins, you know, just glanced over that. Mr. Watkins and your assistant superintendent, assistant superintendent of the Hammond School System, thank you for coming out. Thank you very much. So some of the plans that I talked to today, you heard this before, but if there is a plan for success, one of the first things I would say is set goals. You have to have goals. And I'm trying to relate the few stories that I tell tonight to back when I was between 7th grade and college and high school. So there was an art teacher who was our homeroom teacher in 7th and 8th grade, Mr. Mack. And I had begun to show some talents as a scholar and as an athlete. And he said, we were standing at Washington Junior High School. In fact, we called them middle school. If you remember, they changed junior high to middle school. He says, Roland, when you get to Hammond High, you have the makings of a scholar and athlete. But he says, also try to be a gentleman. He says, try to be a gentleman. So it was ingrained in me. And he picked 2 individuals, he said, to try to be like. And one was Irv Cross, who to this day, I've only talked on the phone. I've never met Irv Cross. I would love one day to meet Irv Cross. And for those of you who don't know, went to Northwestern, played football for the Los Angeles Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles, and was the first African-American sports commentator on a major network, CBS. And the other was Rodney Ford, who played basketball at Hammond High, statewide All-State, went to University of Michigan and became an engineer. And so those guys, they were just class acts. And Richard, when you see your brother Neil, when I got to Hammond High, Neil Kitchell, to me he was a class act. And so just tell him that I brought his name up. He was a class act. The Kitchells played tennis, but as I was a freshman and he was a junior and senior, he just was a classy guy. So I picked those classy guys. And another thing that happened, which I get to later, it helped me by trying to stay out of the wrong crowd. Make sure I stayed in the right crowd because I was trying to emulate guys who were role models. The other one is prepare and have a strong work ethic. And some of you have heard me say this before. I mentioned it to the seniors today. Our community, when we grew up, back then it was almost 3 blocks by about 5 blocks. We hadn't got across the park yet. Most of the men had come from the South, and most of them worked in the mill. And they were mostly families. So you had mom who stayed at home and raised the kids. Moms hadn't started their jobs yet, and the men. And I always noticed weekends, they might coach Little League, wash their car, go to church. But Monday mornings, those guys got up and went to work. They got up and went to work. Sometimes you'll hear where whatever you try to do, you just got to show up. Show up. Show up and be on time. I worked for Exxon 13 years. And so one year, first time I got a perfect attendance. And I was so proud, I told my father. I said, Dad, I got a perfect attendance cup for this 1 year. He says, those of you who know my dad,
yeah.
Well, I think I worked 10 years before I missed a day. So the final record was he worked 33 years at U.S. Steel and he missed 3 days. I worked 13 years at Exxon and missed 3 days. So Dad won. But you got to be consistent, as Keith said. It's kind of like I had my blinders on. I wanted to be consistent. Relationships. Mrs. Rashada Morris asked me to talk about relationships. Relationships to me are very, very important. One of the things I learned on the basketball court, Larry, you've heard me say this before. A teacher from Hammond High was coaching 7th and 8th grade basketball. And when we were preparing for our first game, this was big, our first game in 7th grade basketball, he called us up and he says, when you give the ball to the referee, always say, yes, sir. He says, say yes, sir. If you get a bad call, just say, yes, sir. Always give him the ball. And he says, you might get a break later on. So even today, if the IRS comes in and wants to talk to me about my business, even if they're 25 years old, it's, yes, sir. No, sir. So you show that respect and you add a relationship and you just might get a little break on something because you've shown them respect. Another relationship was just by the way I carried myself, and a lot of people had good grades. A lot of people had good grades. Mr. Wadham was in a class with a gentleman named Mr. Cornell Bell, who was about to start a business opportunity program. And Mr. Wadham, who was a counselor, said, hey, you need to come and talk to this young man. So he talked to me, and I don't know if you still have on the second floor, there was a huge room for study hall. And he came in and started talking to me about Purdue University, which he eventually came back and he got a lot of young men and women from Hammond High School to go to Purdue University. But we developed that relationship. And I talked about also your relationship with your parents, your uncles, your aunts, your grandmother. Listen. Listen to them because they're going to tell you probably what you don't want to hear. but they're going to tell you some life lessons that you can learn. And guys, when I talked to youth today, I told them, I said, look, you guys are on the upside of the hill. They're like, what, 15, 14, 16 years old? I said, I'm on the downside of the hill. I'm on the downside of the hill. I said, I will only tell you what I think will help you. I will not tell you what I don't think will help you. So, in those relationships, and that was something that was interesting. A young man brought up today, is Clay in here today? Clay, he left? Yeah, Clay was asking, how do you deal with death? And so that, I had to take an emotional pause. 2012 was a tough year for me. But I remember, if you guys remember, one of the toughest things that's happened to us at Hammond High, Ricky Hall lived on Ames Street. He died when we were about juniors or sophomores, and he was maybe a freshman or sophomore. And that really shook up the school. It really shook up the school. And so with my employees, and I have 1,000 employees, sometimes I tell them, hey guys, go home and hug your children. Hug your husband or wife. I had a young lady that worked for me 10 years, and she had gone from crew to managing a restaurant. She had a daughter who was a cheerleader. She never went to see her daughter cheerlead. I said, why? She said, because I was working. I said, look, take a break. Work a split shift. Go see your daughter cheerlead, because life is short. So when you go home, hug your parents, your aunt, your uncle, whoever it is that you live with, because life is short. So are relationships. Legacy, and guys, I'm about done. As I said, it's going to be a short time. A couple of things I wanted to mention here. There are two verses in the Bible, Luke 12:48, to whom much is given, much is required. And then Malachi 3rd chapter, Roland Parrish, and I recognize any other ministers in the house. And it says, basically, and to pour out a blessing that you won't have room to receive. And so things I do, to me, this is just my ministry to give. It's my ministry to give. So I do have a check here for $2,000 for the Hammond Education Foundation. So I'm not sure who. And I want to tell you something I did for my parents. And I didn't realize how important it was. I had been recruited for a couple years by a foundation to build a medical clinic in Uganda. And so I did finally agree to build this medical clinic. And the thing that was touching, I said I would build it, but I wanted to name it after my parents. So the Reverend John and Marie Parrish medical clinic is in Uganda, Fort Portal, Uganda. But the thing that really got me was when I read that it will help 16,800 orphans every year. And that's what really got, I said, wow, it's going to really help some little kids because they don't have medical supplies. If they get a scratch, it could go into something that's terminal. Most of them don't have parents because of HIV. Their parents have died, so they're orphans. So I thought that was, and you do things not to get the accolade, but on the part about pouring out a blessing, I don't think I would be here just for winning the state championship. I don't think I'd be here for being a graduate or graduating from Purdue. But it's about giving back, I think is the reason that I'm here. And so what I do want to do is talk to Dr. Goodlow and my good friend, the athletic director, because we want to give a little shot in the arm to the band. I mean, we'll talk about some dollars when we shot arm to the band. Shot an arm to the choir. All right. And the basketball coach was here, right? Okay, so, right, okay. Did I miss anything else? Anybody else here got a department? Remember I said you got to show up? So, basketball showed up. Oh, ROTC. Okay, all right. I do have a budget, so we'll talk about the amount. It'll be at least 1,000 per group, it may be 2,000 per group, okay? So we'll talk about the details today. Who's that? The track coach is here? All right, I'm glad the track is here, okay. Yeah. These guys gonna break me. Hey, one thing promise me, you go to McDonald's, don't eat off the dollar menu, buy some premium fries. Okay, we get back to the community. Okay. So I want to close with, there's a poem that I heard Ruby Dee say, if you guys remember Isaac Davis and Ruby Dee. And it says, life is yours, let's live it. Song would be nice, let's sing it. Love is here, let's give it. Peace is dear, let's bring it. The world is wrong, let's right it. Work is here, let's do it. The battle is near, let's fight it. The road is rough, let's smooth it. Faith is asleep, let's wake it. For the youth, the future is vast, don't fear it. Life is here, let's live it, let's enjoy it, let's embrace it. Thank you very much.